The sunlight flitted down between the heavy foliage above. It was a fine summer day to be traveling. The merchant had gone down this road several times a year ever since he was in his teens, with a full head of hair. But now he was going bald. It was gray, so who cares? He wasn't trying to impress any young ladies anymore. Nope, not when he had been happily married for decades. He let himself go, particularly his belly, which now hung over his lap. Hey, he didn't have to fight, he had hired mercenaries for that. Half a dozen heavily armored men rode alongside the merchant's carts. The largest of all was a giant of a man named Grant, a huge bruiser with a sword as big as him on his back, and even more strapped around his waist. That man looked like he could punch a bear out. The burble of a creek called the group to rest. Getting down, the merchant stretched his legs for a bit. His back was sore from riding in the bumpy carriage. "Where's Clark?" Grant voiced. Every figure went still. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 mercenaries. Who was missing? It was that tall guy built like a beanpole. Where was he? No signs. No, the merchant just didn't know what he was looking for. He was a businessman, not a ranger. He had no clue how to track. Still, even he could hear the groan of the trees around him. He didn't think it was quite that windy. "Get down!" Grant roared. His gauntleted hands thrusted the merchant into the dirt as something swung over his head. He heard the swish of a leaf-covered branch. Rolling over, the merchant saw nothing but the trees towering over him. Nothing to be concerned of in a forest, at least until that tree started to move. It brought a branch down on him. Once more, Grant threw the merchant to safety. "It's the trees!" Looking around, the merchant saw where the other mercenaries were. 2 of them were strung up in the air by branches. Another was screaming as he was being swallowed into the depths of a tree trunk. The last mercenary looked on in fear, his sword trembling in his shaking hands until one of the tree trunks split apart into a leg and came crashing down on him. "Get out of here!" Grant yelled. The mercenary captain's brute strength let him chuck the merchant back onto the cart. With a smack on its rump, the horse bolted. Bouncing along, the merchant struggled to get hold of the reins. Another tree swung at him and connected this time. The plump man toppled onto the ground. Roots slithered about like serpents binding him. His eyes went wide as he found himself bound to the earth, his eyes fixed on the tree canopy which blotted out all the sunlight above. They were shifting it as they closed in on their strained man. Well, this is a tense situation the merchant has found himself in. Welcome back to Mythical Phylogenies, Aspiring Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason Diogos. Today we've encountered the Treefolk, a race of mobile trees. Let's sit for a bit and see what we can learn about such a strange and bizarre-looking foe. There are 2 main arguments as to the true nature of the Treefolk, and both of them have merit. The first is that the Treefolk aren't even plants, but animals mimicking a plant. The second is that the Treefolk is a tree but has adapted to move. We'll look at the first of them first, of course, an animal that looks like a plant. Mimicry is a common tactic used by so many animals. You've got milk snakes, which look like the venomous coral snakes. You've got butterflies, which can mimic the eyes of an owl on its wings. And you've got a whole mess of insects, which look like leaves and sticks. So what is the Treefolk here? Their forms vary from one individual to another. Some are tall, others short. Some have arms and others only have branches. There is little similarity between the Treefolk, it seems. These could be individual species, but we'll see. We shall address that more later. Well, first, let's look at how an animal would mimic a plant. These we'll call the false Treefolk. First, they could have skin that just happens to look like wood, something that's made of tough hide. Secondly, it could cover itself in plant matter, like how some crabs will place sea anemones on their backs. Or it could coat itself in foliage that it collects. A symbiotic relationship which both could benefit from. With this method, it would need to be a larger animal. Or not. You remember what I said about its looks. Members of the same species always have similar looks. Even with layering branches over it, it would not meet our requirements. Many species of trees have symbiotic relationships with insects. The bullhorn acacia tree and the acacia ant are a renowned pair. It is the ant which defends the tree while the tree provides them shelter. Could that be what we are facing here? It would give us the wooden texture in some of the variations and shapes. What I am proposing here is it is in fact the ants that are manipulating the shape of the tree using their numbers and strength. Only a species that relies on massive colonies could even attempt such a feat. This would be most likely for this method, but not for the others. I mentioned the second option, that the Treefolk could in fact be a race of intelligent and mobile trees. What leads me to this belief is that I have in fact dissected several samples of Treefolk, and I've never found evidence of an insect colony within. Others may have found them, but I have not. Thus, we believe in the true Treefolk. So how do we make a sentient tree that moves? Many plants have the limited ability to move by using water pushing through their vessels. Currently, it is only used to face and track the sun. A few do use it for predation, but not too many. This could be used as a form of vegetation-based muscle. In order to make that viable, we'll have to increase its speed. For that, we'll need a proper heart focused on the circulation of the fluids. There is a second issue which is a little more difficult. As I've discussed in other videos, the brain needs a lot of energy. A race of plants would need one as well. So where would we place the brain? With the head being closest to sunlight, that would be better aligned for food production and photosynthesis. This process combines water and carbon dioxide to produce oxygen and sugar. The sugar will be needed in large quantities for the brain to function. So you want to place the brain near the leafy branches of the Treefolk's head. Would that be best? Or is there a better option? You could lower it in the chest, where it would also make a better connection to the arms and legs, which sometimes have foliage. This could leave the head to be used for vocal organs and communication. For the rest of the nervous system, you could copy the electrical system that animals use. This would require an increase in the sodium and potassium for them to work, both of which could be absorbed through nutrients via the roots, assuming that they can dig in. This may cause the Treefolk to congregate in certain areas where both nutrients are highly available. Those same roots would also allow the Treefolk to have improved stability when walking over uneven terrain. As for its vision, chlorophyll are already used to absorb and manage light. It would be a simple modification of such a system to allow it to provide vision, especially when combined with the rest of the Treefolk's body. If it is one of the false Treefolk, you may face them as if you were dealing with any other sort of beast. Of course, you are here for the true Treefolk. The Treefolk are strong, but can be a little bit on the slow side. They are also dense. They can easily weigh up into the thousands of pounds. That's a lot of weight to be swung at you. Yep, it's a giant club. Armor won't help much here. Neither plate nor mail will stop that much force. You'll likely be sent flying. Best to avoid that. Dodge and fight at range. If dodging, you'll need a sharp weapon. Blunt weapons aren't going to chop down a tree. Neither are slicer weapons really good. What you want is a big axe. The mighty axe has been refined over millennia to be perfected for wood splitting. If your axe happens to become large, you can then use a hammer onto the back of the head to force the wedge deeper and deeper until the wood splits apart. That's how you'll handle the true Treefolk. Get an axe and chop. Wait. Don't chop wildly. You don't want to chop the Treefolk down just to have it fall on top of you. You'd end up a lot skinnier much too fast. There is a right way and a wrong way to fell a tree. First, you want to cut about halfway down through one side of it. Okay, then you go around to the other side and chop at a slightly higher position. If you do this right, you will end up with the first side being much heavier than the second side, causing the tree to fall away from you. Of course, that's going to be pretty difficult when you're dealing with a moving, fighting tree. Loggers also happen to use a second trick. They'll set up ropes to guide the tree down in the direction they want it to fall. You can lasso one part of the Treefolk and pull it down. Just be careful. That lasso would make a great way to fling you about when you're caught onto it. So, if you don't want to get close and be an expert at dodging, what can you do? Go for range. Arrows are going to be pretty worthless here. Think about it. Have you ever seen an arrow strike a wooden shield? It doesn't go very far. Nope. A bow is pointless. But fire, oh, now that's the trick. Treefolk are made of wood, and wood burns. Spells are your best bet here. No beating around the foliage here. Go straight for your flame-throwing spells. While painful, it won't stop the treefolk instantly. So you want to set them ablaze, then fall back. Hit and run. Just don't let the flames spread to the rest of the force. You don't want to be caught in the middle of a wildfire. Of course, unless that is your plan. That would allow you to face a whole army of treefolk all at once. Another powerful option is poison. While it is slower than flames, you can poison the soil they feed on, or even their watering hole. Just be warned, either could cause it to spread to other areas, and you probably would not get paid if there are too many excessive casualties. What about the cold? Do trees not enter a form of hibernation in the winter, where they bring the chlorophyll out of leaves and back into their trunk? This is a slow process, and would take days of the cold to put the treefolk into a slumber of any sorts. It is far from practical. But anyone who has ever chopped wood will tell you one thing: cold wood splits easier. Some treefolk can wield magic. They can crumble stone fortresses to dust and create whole forests wherever they are standing. These are rare and should be countered as if you're dealing with any other mage. These tactics could also be used against those trees that are manipulated by the ants, with very little difference. Treefolk are mighty foes and to be wary of whenever you pass through a forest. Yet they are like any foe and can be brought down. Focus on range and magic and you'll survive. As for how difficult they are, I would give them about a 6 out of 10. They are difficult, but not unmanageable. So you have managed to chop down the treefolk. Congratulations! Their wood holds many special properties that alchemists will pay well for. Mostly they are used to make potions of oaken flesh, ones that will boost your crop yield, and some potent healing ones. The wood is also sought after by carpenters. It holds enchantments quite well, and is primed for building wooden shields, or stakes for slaying vampires. The wood is also useful for mages who use it to make their staffs and wands. They are very potent for enchanting and powerful spells. The merchant's eyes were wide. He was trapped. The roots held him down. Above him the treefolk were moving. It was over. His thoughts strayed to his wife at home. She would never hear what had happened to him. No, he couldn't let that be. But what could he do? He was no mage. He didn't have any spells. Not a one. Neither did he have a weapon. Struggling, he tried to muscle it, and he failed. There was nothing left for him to do except greet death after so many years on the road. "Badger off!" a voice roared. An axe went flying through the air. It cut deep into the treefolk's trunk, where it had become lodged. A moment later, Grant came flying in. With a heavy mace in hand, he struck the axe head. Wood split as he drove it deeper. The treefolk wasn't idle, and swung at the mercenary. He deftly evaded and swung the mace again. Their dance continued. With one mighty swing and a roar, he drove the axe through the leg. The treefolk collapsed, moaning. The ground thundered as more treefolk were approaching. The air was heavy with their groaning wood. Hefting his axe once more, Grant cut the roots around the merchant. "Let's go!" Grabbing the merchant's hand, they took off through the forest. "Which way did the horse go?" "This way," the merchant pointed. Thank you for watching Aspiring Adventures. This has been quite an interesting foe to encounter. Please return next time where we shall examine how it is the elves maintain such beautiful forests. Until then, be careful.